For us, accountability has four different aspects. The first is transparency. There's still a lot of information about the Bush administration's torture policies that is still being withheld. And part of accountability is transparency about those policies and about the consequences of those policies. The second aspect of accountability is the creation or the assembly of a complete and accurate historical record. And part of that is making the information that's out there accessible to the public. We want this information to be something that people can see for themselves, can understand, can analyze, can synthesize. We want it to be something that's available to the public. The third aspect is recognition for and compensation for the victims of these policies. Thus far, most of the discussion about accountability has focused on the policies themselves and not on the victims of the policies. We want to make sure that those victims aren't forgotten, that they are given recognition for and given compensation for the abuse that they suffered in custody. And then finally, accountability requires the appointment of an independent prosecutor to look into issues of criminal responsibility. There's substantial evidence that senior officials authorized torture. We don't think that that evidence should be swept under the rug. Restoring the rule of law here and restoring the moral authority of the United States abroad requires that we confront that evidence. In spite of all of the information that has been released, there are still critical documents that are still being suppressed. There is, for example, an Inspector General report by the CIA's Inspector General that discusses the legality of the methods that were approved by the Office of Legal Counsel in 2002, and also discusses the effectiveness of the CIA's interrogation and detention program. There are documents relating to interrogation methods used by special forces in Afghanistan and Iraq. And then, of course, there are the photographs of abuse in those facilities in Iraq and Afghanistan. And right now, I think there's still the impression that abuse was aberrational, that it was limited to certain facilities like Abu Ghraib. In fact, that could not be further from the truth, and we think that the disclosure of the photographs would show, beyond any doubt, that abuse was pervasive and systemic. An independent prosecutor should look into responsibility of at least three different categories of people. The first category are the senior officials who authorized the torture program. The senior officials, for example, like Secretary Rumsfeld, who issued interrogation directives that authorized methods that the U.S. had once prosecuted as war crimes. The second category of people that an independent prosecutor could look into are the lawyers who facilitated and provided or purported to provide a legal basis for the torture program. Most of those lawyers, as we know, were in the Office of Legal Counsel, which is a component of the Justice Department. And then finally, the independent prosecutor could look into the responsibility of the people who actually use these torture methods. Now, President Obama has said that interrogators who relied in good faith on legal advice shouldn't be held criminally liable. Well, that still leaves the question of the interrogators who went beyond the legal advice. And we know already, based on the Office of Legal Counsel memos and the limited information that's been released about the OIG report, that some interrogators went beyond even the sweeping authority that they'd been granted by the Office of Legal Counsel. The independent prosecutor should look into criminal responsibility for that category of people as well. The ACLU has launched an Accountability for Torture initiative. You can learn more about it at the ACLU's website, www.aclu.org.